Uh-huh.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me, Gaurav?
Minaki ji, this is Kailash. I think
Hello,
Gaurav ji is
Kailash, how are you?
I'm
Hello,
doing
Kailash.
good. Yeah, Gaurav ji should be dialing in, I think, pretty soon. But
Sure.
I'm glad we are able to hook up and talk a bit. So
Yes.
how are things there?
Things are going very good. We are very sorry that on the Friday it did not work out. We were trying to work it out while it was little rainy over here. It was cold, rainy, and we were
Yes.
supposed to go to AVG ashram for
Ah.
some Saturday and Sunday whole day class of some
Oh,
class
I
we were
see.
trying to host.
Oh, that's
So
up in what is it? Stoutsburg.
yes,
Yeah,
Sellersburg.
yeah. Salisbury. Yeah, I used to go when I lived in New York. I used to go there. Quite a beautiful place. Yeah.
Lovely. I'm very happy to hear that. You have been to AVG earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah. I in the late '90s, we were in New York for a couple of years, upstate New York, and we had some friends who were regular followers, so we used to join them, and we got to meet Swamiji and listen to some of his discourse in those years. So that was wonderful.
Wow, lovely to
Swami,
hear
Swami,
that.
Swami Dayanand himself. That was he was quite a profound individual. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow we could not meet Dayanand Saraswati. The time
Ah.
we, yeah, the time we went, I think he was already there, but we never got chance to be like he was not doing very well, so he was not visiting. So Kailashji, I have
Ah.
Saurav also line.
He's on phone.
Saji, how are you?
Namaste, Kailash. I'm good. How are you?
No, Namaste. I'm doing good. Thank you.
It must
I
be
think.
early evening there, huh? Uh,
Yeah, it's about five o'clock,
Ji.
and now we have local news on coronavirus because they just landed this cruise ship here in Oakland.
Right.
So that is becoming, and the markets are collapsing, and then all kind of confusion is going around. So,
Uh,
so there is quite a confluence of things happening, around us.
yep. It's all, lot is happening around. That is true.
Yeah, it's isolating people. This corona virus, it's so many unknowns about it,
Ji.
and so that's why I think people are in a kind of a bit of more concerned than perhaps we need to have. But I guess since it is unknown, it seems to be spreading rather fast. So there
Yeah.
is there's that.
I think
So how
they even in our at my workplace today, uh,
yes.
they have put a lot of measures in place. So travel is completely, pretty much completely, lockdown, no travel.
Yeah. Yes.
and they are not allowing any contractor to get into the buildings unless
I
the contractor is working full time at PNC. I work for PNC Bank.
Oh, I
So
see.
also like most of the meetings they are saying now only do on Skype. Don't meet I mean, you don't need to meet in person. Um,
Yes.
and plans are in place to let people work from home mostly rather than coming into office.
Yeah, more and more that seems to be the case. I'm going to send a quick text message to Gauravji.
Sure, sure.
You can also ping in. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we can begin maybe talking a little bit,
Ji.
and then he would join. I just sent him a text
So,
message. So, yeah.
Kailashi, we would love to record this. So I don't know whether you
Yes,
have the recording privilege or otherwise, last time,
I think
for
I think uh,
Actually, Gaurav.
I think Gauravji has. I think we maybe automatically recorded.
no, it's not
He
recording,
says
No,
right?
he's
it's recording somewhere.
Oh, it is recording.
okay. So I think on the right hand side there is something called. I think he just sent me a note that he's joining in a couple of minutes. He knows this stuff. I don't.
No, no, I know, but it is saying that it is recording, so I think we are good. So yeah, why don't
Oh, okay, good.
yeah, you can start, I
Yeah,
think.
good. Yeah, so I think we have a very rudimentary website, as I'm sure you have seen, and we just patch things in there just for people to know. But now we are getting into a bit more sophisticated crowd with the donors looking at some institutions, the lawyers are looking at. We are going to introduce our the Ananda service in the community. So more and more people are going to want to be visiting our website and getting a sense. So we want to become a bit more professionalized, and we do have a lot of information, but we don't want to be information heavy. We want to be maybe message heavy or whatever the right thing to do is.
Ji.
So we thought, and we're really very happy that you're able to help in this area. So what we thought would be best is for you to take an independent look and
Okay.
say, okay, if we were to start fresh, how would we represent HCI, the CHT program, and the Ananda Core Service, and other important thing. We do want the donor connection there. We do want some of the video clips that are, about us and so on. So whatever we decide, but I think what thought it will be good for you to sort of give a sort of outline of what we think you think we should consider doing, and then we can proceed to do it, and then see what kind of resources we require and all that.
Ji. So, Kailashi, there are two or three things that I and Meenakshi were also discussing a little bit before the call.
Yes.
There are various levels at which the website can be developed, right? So one is that we are just using it for let's say information dissemination, right?
Yes.
So we have a brand. We
Yes.
use it. So one of the ways a lot of people would use their website is essentially that it's your visiting card in some sense, right? So uh,
That,
it it tells you who I am. It tells you something about
what you do.
myself, what you do, right? It
Yeah.
tells about the kind of work that I'm doing, who all you can contact, and those kind of things, right? So it's mostly like a visiting card. It doesn't
Yeah.
really do anything more than that,
Yep.
and you stop there essentially, right? So
Yep.
that's one way of looking at it. And then there is the layer of what you would call as a digital marketing or social media marketing, which
Yes.
would bring people to the website, right? And then allow them to know more about yourself, right? So that's one
Yes.
one very very basic function of a website, right?
Yep.
And the current website that we have is more or less in that mode, I think, now based on what I've seen so far. I haven't done an in-depth analysis, but it looks like that's what it is. Um,
Yeah.
so the first question that we would have is that in terms of the functionality, is the
Yeah.
first step to keep the functionality same, but in some sense beautify it or make it more functional within that functionality, right? We are not adding any new functionality. Is that a good first step, or
No,
you okay?
no. I think I call this this is called the parking lot theory. You put everything out in the parking lot, then you bring what you think you want to bring in and
Hmm.
revamp the whole inside. I think our basic functions. We need the visiting card function for sure for identity and for branding. We do need to emphasize the program, the bit of the CST program, what it is all about, and so on. We're going to introduce the Ananda core services, so we're going to have a place keeper for that. We don't have all the material for it, but we have to recognize that when people are looking for service, they're going to have to come on that website or also have a 800 dialing number. And then we want to do some fundraising, maybe crowdfunding kind of a scenario, or some social media kind of a functionality. I'm not quite clear, but we do have objectives of increasing our brand, improving our brand, and allowing the community to connect with us in terms of engagement as students and as service receivers, and to bring in money into the entity.
Ji.
I think those would be the three fundamental functions that we need to be augmenting and or building whatever it takes on the website.
Okay, got it.
What do you think?
No. That's fair, and that's the whole objective of today's call, in my view, is to
Yes.
understand what is it that you guys are looking to do, and then we will obviously then look into it. That no, once we understand the what,
Yeah.
then we can get into the how part, right? And
How to and how and etc. Exactly.
ji,
So
ji,
if we can agree on the high level functional requirements, some of
ji.
that, and then you can develop the specs or whatever it takes, and then the beautification, of course, will follow.
Okay. So there
Right?
were three things that you mentioned, right? One was the information dissemination, right?
Yeah.
The second was Ananda Core,
Yeah.
and the third was the fundraising aspect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the three main things. So in terms of uh, the complexity of the work,
Yes.
I want to just assess it a little bit, right? So when we talk about the Ananda Core,
Yes.
within that, are we looking to use the website primarily again as a visiting card to inform about, let's say, the 800 number, what the Ananda Core is all about, provide a story around it and all of that, or do you want to build the workflow within the website? And when I say workflow, hello Gauravji.
Namaskar, this is Gaurav. Sorry about the delay. It's Monday evening and I have a work meeting that I sneaked out of. It's still going on,
Ji.
but I still want to keep it. I'm sorry for this.
No, Gaurav, thanks a lot for accommodating us. I know we initially you wanted to do it on Friday and we couldn't make it. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for accommodating us. Um, I'll just quickly
So I think,
recap. I'll just
yeah,
quickly
go ahead,
recap,
please.
Gauravji, what we have talked about so far. So Kailash ji is already online. Um, so we were trying to figure out what is the objective that we have. What would the new milestone for the website will be that we can call it a success factor, right? So what we started talking about was that a lot of the times the basic website that people develop as a first iteration is more or less like a visiting card, right? It talks about who you are, what you are doing, contact information, so on and so forth. And website being more rich than just a small visiting card obviously provides much more information, but it is on the same lines. It doesn't do anything more than that. And if I look at the current website, it's more or less on those lines, right? It provides information about who we are as an HCI institute, what we do, why we are doing it. It provides a little bit of information about the previous work in terms of the video library and stuff like that, right? but then it stops there. So my first question to Kailashji was that is our first milestone to just take the same functionality and not anything more, add any new functionality, but just simply beautify it. And Kailashji's answer to that was that that's not going to be sufficient for our success criteria. For the success criteria, we are looking at improving the website, to add, essentially have three functionalities, which would be obviously providing the current content, which will work as a visiting card or work as, providing information to the world about HCI. But then we also want to add the Ananda core aspect to it and, provide information and help run that function a little bit using website, and then add some fundraising aspect to it, right? So those were the three things that we noted down here. So Kailashji, if I misrepresented anything or missed out anything, please add to that.
No, I think at the high level, I thought that basic identity and then the functionality and engagement of the community, actually, which is through the CHT program and the under the core. Those are the two fundamental places where we want the community to be coming in and engage with us. And then fundraising as a third major aspect, which we have not focused on, but we want to. And so, Gaurav, you can now add, delete, enhance, whatever you want to do on that particular basic assumption.
So this is consistent with our conversation, Kailashji. I would just say that the audiences are different for all three of these, and so the website needs to provide a good experience to each of these three. The first are people that are interested in the course and they come for the current content that might be out there. The second is people who actually need service and are interested in learning more or signing up or somehow contacting us. And the third is people who are well-wishers in the community. And these are three distinct set of people with three distinct sets of needs that we now.
So I think just to elaborate on that a little bit, it's really maybe four. One is broadly speaking, what is HCI is number one, and number two, become a counselor. Number three is receive service, and third is donate money. I mean, I think those are the simplified four functions. Maybe not three. One is identity, and then you get into the learning, and then the serving, and then into the money matters.
Got it. Identity, learning, serving, and fundraising.
And that's right.
No, this is very good. This is very good. Okay. That makes it very clear.
The other thing that I want to say is I think there's a big room or a large room for improvement on the video content front, where we expect to have a lot of video content, not merely the content we have, which is well-wishers, but also classroom content or specific videos made for special such as how to do last ride kind of thing. In addition, Kailashji and I have been discussing a series of talks that we can do around topics of interest to the general community on the lines of the CHP classes we do, but available to a wider circulation, to more common fans and more, speaking to a common audience. Those lectures will be high produced and so on. We'll also find a home somewhere on this website, and we need to anticipate video content of all these varieties.
Okay, so that's very good, huh?
So Gaurav, do you want all the Gauravji, do you want all the videos content to be open, or do you want also to have a login of the people coming in and watching some of the specific videos? Because
That's
from the
a very
security.
interesting. No, that's a great and very interesting question for a couple of reasons. One, I think we should fulfill, a 10-minute request without having to register, and maybe more engagement. We might be better off saying, okay, why don't you register with us, and a lot of the content that is free will be available to you by then. So that way, it's an entrance into the Ananda core system or the CHC system. Someone who's interested in learning or interested in serving or being served.
Okay.
So to recap, to answer your question, should this have a login of some sort? Beyond a certain point, if the engagement increases, we should definitely encourage a login and give access to more content past the login.
Yeah, sounds good.
ठीक है. That's good. That's very clear. Okay. No, that's a great
We can
clarification point.
we can determine a threshold at some point.
हाँ.
We don't need to determine it then.
ठीक है, Gaurav ji. That's good. In fact, this is very nice because I don't know whether Meenakshi talked to you about that or not, but we were just talking to Kailash ji about Arshvidya Gurukulam, and we are helping in managing their astrology conference, and there is a lot of video content there as well. So we are right now actually working on figuring out ourselves, because I'll be honest with you, we are not an expert in that area right now. So we are already extensively working on that area to figure out how to do exactly what you just talked about. So the two things sort of merge and are complementary. So this will be good.
What is the website over there? Jyotish.com or?
Yep, Jyotish.com.
That is the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know whether you know Rakesh Sharma, who sort of owns site. So he's my college senior. So we have been working very closely for last 2 years to help.
I know Rakesh. I know Rakesh Sharma. He does my annual horoscope.
Yeah, you. I don't know, Gaurav, whether you met with him or not. If you meet him, your birth details will go into his database, and then every birthday you will get an email from him.
Yeah.
It's like a clockwork. It's like a clockwork. You'll get an email from Rakesh on your birthday without fail.
For your horoscope, and he will get all the genuine kind of stuff going in. Yeah, that is him. Yeah.
So no, that's very nice. So I think this is great. I think we can take some of the learnings that we are managing that astrology thing and apply those to the video library for HCI. So that's a great. I think that's very nice. Okay.
I have a couple more inputs, and this is not for this phase, but our audience mostly American. It'll be as in Indians in America, but there are other communities that might be interested in this, but we don't necessarily need to speak to them right now. One is Americans in America, non-Indians in America, Hindus, non-Hindus. The other is Indians in India and other countries. And those, we don't speak to them right now, but we anticipate that there should be uptake for our program and curriculum in India as well. And so we should keep in mind that we might have to speak with them at some point.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because both our the reason we have done HCI and this whole program is it is a diaspora program. It's not I sort of classify we are Desis. I came here from India. Desis meaning people who were born in India, came here and still have a strong linkage to India and the tradition. I call them Desis, not for any negative reasons, but that's just a classification. And then those who are born here don't necessarily have the attachment to India. I call them diaspora Hindus. Diaspora Hindus are those who are born, my children, grandchildren, all these people, and beyond in yours. So I think our emphasis on this website needs to be having a diaspora kind of an emphasis as opposed to a Desi emphasis. We're not like any other organization. We are somewhat unique in that we are trying to address the needs of the future generations who are going to live in this environment, not connected to India. So that subtlety, I think, now if this model also applies to the people in cities of India, the urban Indian Hindu population, that's beautiful because they are also having the same kind of a need. Their children are also not attached, and so on. And so that I think that distinction would be interesting to remember as we lay out the information and the themes out there. That
Yeah, and the way this played out when we set out this initial website, we had to scrub it somewhat, but not too successfully, was that we had a lot of imagery and the whole look and feel was extremely ethnic, like full-on ethnic right now with that, pretty lady hand with a lamp in her hand kind of deal. So
Yeah.
then we realized that's not the audience we speak to, and that's not the audience we want to attract. And so in that sense, we're not an friendly organizations to us, but we're not affiliated with Indian organizations with deep roots to India. For example, HSS and other organizations that are doing things for Indians just arrived from India. We love them. We have a great relationship with them, but they're not really our audience. Our audience is going to be people who are by and by losing their Indian touch, but still are or aspire to be Hindu.
Okay.
So the look and feel becomes more contemporary, more modern, more American in its aesthetic sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And the voices, when we have voices and messages, I would have them more our children, that second generation, kind of a voice recording, as opposed to a older Indian accent kind of a person. Not to put them in a negative vein, but to steer the services toward those who need the services, don't know where to go, and that's
To give a little more color, for example, we are speaking with this lady who wants to assemble her instructions for last ride, and not just for herself but for everybody else. But her objective is, look, I want to leave this for my kids with very precise instructions on things I want them to do that are all possible to be done here and are consistent with our tradition, right? So that's what she wants to do, and so she will. What we'd like to do is give her a hyperlink that she can include in her thing, and that hyperlink goes to the Hindu CI website. And upon her death, or that person's death, their kids are looking at it. Their kids are, your and my age kind of people. So it should be completely contemporary for them as well. So once they come in for any use case, they stay back because this is their connection to the world that their parents had brought them from. So that's the thought process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think just to elaborate on similar. So, basically what we are saying also is if somebody has a desire to have a wedding or a last rites in the Tamil tradition, those people are sophisticated enough, they can find a Tamil priest and get it done. We are doing it for those who say, I am Silicon Valley or I am Atlanta or New York, whatever, I live in the US, and I want to do it the way it is most convenient and suitable for here. And so we have a generalized diaspora process. That's what we are trying to do. Not go into the Desi subdivision, east, west, south, north, because that is not the complexity that we are able to, and we don't need to, because that is being addressed by temples and all these people. So I think is that coming across to you, or are we confused?
No. This is great. I mean that you guys are laying it out because I'm sure you probably did it earlier. I don't think it's sunk in very well with me, at least so far, right? So I mean this is very, very good information because it will help us to look at the website and think through it.
That's right.
So that's good. So actually, not completely related to website, but I do have a clarifying question, Kailashji. Because I'm working on that Sanskara guidance system as well.
Yes.
So will that be something that will have a binary tree or like a decision tree kind of a thing where you take it down to that Tamil thing and Telugu thing and all that, or the Sanskara guidance system also is going to be more generic and have a kind of here is the Hindu approach and we don't worry about the sub specializations within there.
Yeah, I think we need to in order to keep it straight and simple for everyone, we need to have a disclaimer on the top and saying this is being put together keeping in mind the U.S. situation, or if it's California or whatever you want to put it, local conditions, local requirements, there's medical requirements, ethical, legal, death certificate, ashes, all that stuff. And this is what it. And by the way, we recommend the priestly process is a simple generic process. However, if you have a sub-ethnic requirement like Tamil, Bengal, blah blah blah, then you would have to seek your own priest. Or if down the road we may be able to have a directory of priests for different traditions, but I don't want to go make that kind of commitment yet because we don't have the resources. But we want to keep a very clear view of a generic but strongly a practical generic approach to the diaspora conditions, not the Indian conditions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I mean, your vision is very clear to me. So
Yeah.
that's good. Whether that makes sense to me or not, I think that probably does not really matter.
At this stage, by the way, you may all convince us to do it other way around. I'm completely open to that. But
right.
It seems to me that India's complexities are every 50 miles things change. So if you want to map the India into America, you don't have it's an enormous job.
Yeah.
So you have to deal, and people don't. Most people here do things generically anyway. I mean, I've gone through several, and people don't look for the classical, local, sub-ethnic kind of sanskaras.
Okay.
So.
All right. No, that's good. I think that's clear. Now,
The thing we have to make sure is the priorities.
mm-hmm.
How should we design the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3? That's
Right.
a very important part.
So in terms of we did kind of list down the different functionalities in two different ways. One was the information dissemination, and the core fundraising and engagement of the community. And the other way of is the same thing, but we noted it down as identity, learning, serving, and fundraising, right? So they are basically the same thing, but saying it in different words. Would you be able to prioritize it, or one over the other, or these are all sort of the same? They have to work in parallel, and I mean, how do we do that? Is that something that you have any thoughts on?
I think architecturally, you know that stuff. But my feeling is what we have today is we call it phase 0. So you're going to take some of the pieces of information, etc., from it. That's your phase 0. Question is, what is phase 1 going to look like? And it appears to me that phase 1 is you would have to have the enhanced version of our identity in phase 1. And then you have place keepers for the other 3 functions, some kind of then in phase 2, you develop those functions. I'm just thinking out, you are, how it works architecturally and from your specs point of view, because it all has to be sort of somewhat interconnected also. So, but that's what I'm thinking is not jump from phase 0 to a completion, but that is probably not realistic.
Right.
But yeah.
No, this is that actually gels with what we have been thinking as well. So that works out.
Yeah. I will also say, Kailashi, the same thing. You told us exactly the same thing. When we are trying to go from the phase 0 to phase 1, we will be getting some of the basic information, the information which we talked about from the current site. Then we will prepare the structure the way you want, because when we are talking about, that's why my question was, do you want a login of your video or not? Because in the phase 1, we will have a place, because usually whenever we develop a login, it goes more on the backside of like we have to do kind of a PHP coding and the programming behind to be able to develop that. So we will keep a placeholder for it and bring that information in the phase 2. But phase 1 itself, when we know our overall vision, our hosting server should have a space enough to be able to bring all the, like when we are talking about video contents, it requires a lot of space over there. It does require people who are coming and watching. The streaming should be good enough. So we have to keep space for those things. So we will decide that in the phase 1 itself how bigger it's going to be in the future.
So I think it would be my suggestion would be to provide for all those functions. We may choose not to use some of them, or whatever, but incorporate them in your architecture and
Definitely.
in your spec, right?
Yes. So those things.
That's good.
I just want to add a couple of more things. This
Sure, Guruji.
website also represents Hindus in Silicon Valley, even though you're not here. But the conceptual idea is this is expected to be higher tech than usual. And so don't be afraid to take risks. We will debate the heck out of everything, but be open to taking risks. We are open to it with color, format, add features, and so on. We will debate them, but we want to present ourselves in a more modern way because people expect it to be that way because of who we are and what we represent to them. So keep that in mind.
That's good. And the identity that we are presenting is like a modern Hindu identity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, our services are also secular. We don't discriminate in terms of the people who receive our. We don't stop anybody from taking our course either. So we have to
Right.
we're wide open, right? That I think that attitude also, I'm sure it'll come out as we present it and articulate.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, our services are Hindu in nature, but we are not restricting them to only Hindus, right?
Yeah. So the way I put it is,
philosophy. Yes.
yeah. The way I put it is some of our the counselors and volunteers are going to have specialty in the Hindu tradition related services, but they will also have ability to provide services outside the Hindu tradition in compassionate care, compassionate presence, and other human conditions, quality of life issues or referrals that we talk about. They're available to everyone. And in Ananda Court, there will be some counselors who will probably not be trained in the Hindu tradition. They will be outside the Hindu tradition. So we're going to have a mixture of people and services. So it's not, we're not mapped. Hindu tradition doesn't map completely into our education and training and service altogether. It covers humanity.
Understood. But in terms of, let's say, well, I think I'm good with that. Yeah, maybe we'll talk later.
Yeah.
So at some point, Meenakshi, we had considered having separate subdomains for the institute and for Ananda Core, and that might still have to happen. But you guys have to think about the information architecture of this. The other thing I want to say is we are not an advocacy organization, and we're not a political organization. What that means is we are Hindu in a very proud. We are proud of our Hindu nature, but it is not our place to debate our tradition with anybody on our website or elsewhere. Now, what that means is a lot of the content. So a lot of the content that might be asked of us to have around explaining what this is or explaining what that is, we will do only the part that explains to ourselves why the tradition is important and so on, but not speak to other audiences.
And we are not going to do defending the Hindu tradition or somebody criticizing, going after them, or putting letter to the editor on the website. We will have none of that. Ours are going to be strictly education, learning to serve, learn and serve. That is all our services will be. And Bhagavad Gita, of course, we'll sprinkle Bhagavad Gita as and when we feed it fitting to our the themes.
One very different question, more from the website angle. Do you have some of the colors in mind, which, because when we try to look for or look and feel of a website, we so do you have any colors like blue, yellow, orange, anything of that sort? Because that will help us in narrow down.
I think the Hindu tradition, the Bhagwa, I would definitely have that in Gaurav, you can add to this. What are the other colors? Green and Bhagwa, I think, are two, for obvious kind of reasons, that might be good. But we also use purple with a lot of, and it fits. If you look at our graduation booklet, for example, you may want to take a look at that. By the way, there's a lot of good information, and you will find that we use purple and gold. I think purple and gold is very prominent. It looks beautiful, but also I think the orange Bhagwa, the right color, the saffron color, and also green for environment and all that. So I would say those are the four main things, at least in my mind, from what I've seen. But again, you can propose and try some different things. I don't think we're going to be. I think we're going to be open-minded on bringing all the creativity we can bring in to this.
Yeah, okay, so that's good. So Gaurav, I saw that you had kind of got disconnected for a minute. So Meenakshi had a question about what kind of color palettes would be more palatable to you guys.
Yeah.
For that, we for graduation we used purple and gold, and that looked really nice to us.
Yeah.
But that's just our opinion.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's all right. So we'll play with it a little bit,
Exactly.
kind of have some samples and then.
Have you seen the graduation booklet? No.
I don't think I've no.
But we have noticed the purple and the gold for sure.
Purple and gold is there in the presentations
Yes.
itself, so that I've noticed
But
very well.
if you please send them that graduation. Yeah, that's nice.
Nothing to do with the tradition, that what the designer used and we liked.
That's
you're
right.
free to use what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think for the initial download, I think we have enough to go by. We will have to go back and sort of also confer with our partners back in India. So we'll do that. We will kind of create some kind of a high level proposal, and it may not be like the final one, but maybe in a week or week and a half we will come back with some high level proposal, maybe some questions, open questions that might come up. We could probably clarify some of them through email exchanges as well, and then once we have a good understanding of what our phase one plan is going to look like, then we'll go back and kind of create the high one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be terrific. That will be terrific. I think if we can have some kind of a regularity, maybe every 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, some kind of a coming together, the four of us and maybe some others, and just make sure that we are kind of together. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I think let's do the next round a little bit more ad hoc, because we need to figure out by when we can come back. But then once we have agreed upon some kind of a roadmap, then I absolutely agree that we need to have a regular touch point.
That would be wonderful. Very cool. This is highly valuable, and I think have a major impact in our. Now we are going to go out in the community, and it's going to be a significant aspect of our, connecting with the folks. So we appreciate your.
No. I think we appreciate being part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
we can surely see the impact of it. From 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and just the fact that
Yeah.
we have got this opportunity to be part of that. Is just absolutely absolutely a blessing for us. Yeah.
We are mutually very happy. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a good place to be.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I am. I mean, I'll be. In complete disclosure, I would say that I'm little disappointed by the fact that we said that we won't do any activism, but I will fulfill that desire through some other. I will
No, no,
fulfill that. No, I'm just saying
no,
that
no.
I'll
All of us
fulfill that desire through some other avenues, maybe.
have
No, but
right.
Saurabhji, think of it this way: our activism hasn't elevated us to where we need to be elevated. Our knowledge and our wisdom do not get the recognition because we are always in defense, right?
Ji,
And
ji.
so, if you look at what we have done with yoga, what we have now, cremation, 70% of Christians are cremating, right? And what that we're doing with the turmeric and all the diet without anybody mentioning the name Hindu, right?
Ji.
And
No,
so,
definitely.
somewhere, I think we missed the advocacy and service. To me, is the best face. The best face to humanity is when you go with your compassionate presence and your service model. And we are saying that's what I think people will understand who we really are. That is our true identity as Vasudeva Kutumbakam and all those things that we've been talking about
Ji.
and how we were brought up. So
Definitely.
I think, we feel that it's a tradition, 15,000 year plus kind of a Vedic tradition that has survived. How many others are? The Greeks and the Babylonians. Where are they?
Yep.
And we have so there is a certain tenacity and strength in our tradition that continues, and so there's no need to defend it. I think we just have to make it, bring it out in a very positive way.
Yeah.
I want to add to this because I'm very interested in political activism because that's the stage of life I'm at. But I do that by doing interfaith talks. I do that by doing things in a private non-HCI capacity for one simple reason. Every tent needs a big pole for it to stand up. And for the community, I would like to see HCI as that big pole under which the whole thing is stood up, which is neutral. It is, we are proud of our heritage. We are interested in the future. We're not interested in the past, but we are invested in taking all the learning from the past and applying them into the future. And with that, I think choosing not to be an activist is a better stand for us because then we can be an ally to all the activists.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone's an activist, who do they refer to and say, look, inko dekho kitna अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं?
Yep.
You can't do that, right? Because then we're also colored and painted and look like everybody else.
Yep.
And I think there's room to have a stable partner that everyone can rely on and point out and say, look at how wonderful work these people are doing. That's an example of what the tradition can do for you. And that's why we're proud of it. That's why we're interested in defending it and so on. So that's the reason I feel that having a neutral, independent stance, not a non-neutral, but independent stance is important.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think, and Saurabhji, when the Jewish people, they have come to our class to speak, and some distinguished people, and they said, "Oh, you're going to have a field operating manual for your counselors to practice." My goodness, they said, "We'd love to have that also."
Mm-hmm.
So when they ask, so what we are doing is because our tradition allows, there's no pope and there's no this and that, so we can do a lot of these things. Is that we have an opportunity to be innovative and bring out some new facets to who we are and how we conduct ourselves. So I think that's the opportunity. So that FOM may become a very good thing. Hey, my gosh, these guys have a great way to serve, and they also have a document that describes you how to serve and how not to serve. So I think those are the kind of things we are looking at as new and novel. Let's focus on that. not the old and ancient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and how do we take this forward to our children and grandchildren? So they're also very proud, you know, of their traditions.
Yep.
So
Definitely. No, makes sense. Definitely.
So one more final thing on this activism thing, which is I'm interested in that tradition because we can use it and improve our lives. I'm not interested in it because it's a museum tradition that looks great in theory, and I think that's the most active sort of activism you can be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yep.
yeah. In fact, I think our the scholars presenting last 2 weeks, and in the class from last year, everybody basically said, "Look, I am a different person now. Having gone through this experience, I have changed. My perspective has changed." So that to me is amazingly significant. But then once you are changed, then you can also go out there with more vigor and change people more and help them. So I think it's really that's a very significant point, is that it's a self-improvement that is part of this whole phenomena we're trying to get going. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Plus we took all the problems that people have with the naming any tradition. We've taken them head on by originally naming ourselves Hindu Community Institute and sticking to it.
Yep.
Which is we have Hindu as the first letter of our name.
Yep.
We don't need to be, we're not shy of it.
Yep.
It's pretty much front and center. But the way we like to advocate is by making the practices available to everyone, and in a consistent manner. That's the thing. So I know this is a long-winded answer, but philosophically, that's where we come in our thinking.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. I mean, I like to keep saying that, it's important to make our line big rather than looking at another person's line, right? I mean, you make your own line
Exactly.
bigger.
That's right.
So,
Yes.
so, all right.
I mean,
So,
to Europeans, I always say कि ये आप ही का tradition है. आपके भी 2000 साल पहले, 1500 साल पहले आप भी ये सब करते थे. आपको भूल गए हैं, but हमें याद है. हम, we'll teach it back to you. It's not a problem.
right.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good. All right. So no, this is great. So let us get back, me and Meenakshi, and we'll come back latest by end of next week. We should come back and have another round of discussion. In between, if we have any clarifying questions, we'll probably shoot an email and if needed, get on a call. Otherwise, I think just email exchanges should be
Yeah.
enough.
Just pick up the phone and call us or whatever emails. We'd be happy to engage with you. Okay.
Ji.
Lovely.
No.
So we are motion sensing. So if you we'll respond to your response.
Awesome. And Gauraji, it looks like
we're
that the
really
meeting.
grateful
Gauraji, it looks like the meeting is
Meeting
getting
is being
recorded.
recorded.
Yeah. So if you could
Yeah,
send
I
us
can send
that, that would be awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
so
wanted
much.
to Sarji Meenakshi, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It took us time to
Thank
get here,
you.
but really appreciate your reaching out and volunteering to do this.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
this is-
opportunity.
Thanks for the opportunity, Gauraji. and
Wonderful,
Devaji.
wonderful. Look forward to working with you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
you.
you. Okay. Thanks.